Doodle doo doo doo. Meow. Hello everybody, welcome to Xucaboa 100% Vanilla Baby, episode number 16. As always, I'd like to say thank you, gracias, obrigado, to new Xucaboa citizens, is what I'm going to call people who join the channel now. We've got Christopher Hubble, Scratch Gamer, Paulo Gabriel, Hein N.S, Alexander Maguire, Ian Price, Abhinav Shah, and Cody Kaiser. If you want your name featured in the city, have a building named after you, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, because I don't always see who my subscribers are. There is our photo of Xuca, and she is sitting next to a tree. So what we're going to do to start the episode, like we've been doing lately in the last couple episodes, we'll just do a flyover of what we did last time. For those who saw the time-lapse episode 15.1, there was a lot of detailing, and it was almost entirely with vegetation. A few trees, a few little stones, and some other things, but mostly vegetation sprinkled around all over the place, like, I don't know, like sugar on a cake or something. I don't know a good expression, but that, using it there, it looks kind of like a farm. Over here, looking like a field. In other places, I have it in the open grass, kind of make it look like weeds by the train tracks. I have it looking like it's just overgrowth. I'm going to delete some here that I put down by the Roslyn crew, because if it's supposed to be weeds, I don't think the gardeners at Roslyn Crew High School would allow weeds to grow in that spot. Now right here, if you look at this stretch and this stretch of the highway barrier, they're kind of janky, and I hadn't realized that. I kind of did it really fast and wasn't looking so many, probably over 10 episodes ago, more or less. And Opie, a longtime subscriber, he pointed that out to me just earlier today before I recorded the episode. And it said it made him cringe. So I want to correct that. Opie, please forgive me. I'm sorry. That was pretty cringeworthy upon second glance. It's kind of hiding under the bridge. I never really took a good look at it. So thank you for telling me that. Also, I realized this helicopter depot, this fire helicopter depot, was never named. So we're going to name it for Christopher Hubble. We'll call it the Hubble Fire Helo Depot. Christopher has a YouTube channel just like I do. He's doing City Skyline City Build, Nouveau Springs, very cool city, worth checking out. I have a tag here and also link in the description, so be sure to give that a look. Today, our main project is going to be working on Xuqinha Beach, which, as we remember from the very first episode scouting this area, this was a thick jungle, but it was a vanilla jungle. So we're gonna change some things here, do a little bit of landscaping, have it these big steps, nothing too crazy, just big steps, kind of lowering down towards the beach. And I'm gonna move the Herald of Fire Watchtower really quick, just out of the way. I deleted all the trees because I'm going to replant everything in the future. So if you look at this little triangle here I'm doing, a little triangle about, that's, I'm using 150-degree angles for the end points, and then it's just an equilateral 60-degree triangle on each side. You just follow the, I'm sure it's not 100% perfect, but it looks pretty close, so I'll take it. You just follow the angle guidelines that are given. Make sure you have angles on when you're doing your tool snapping stuff. So here I've zoned it all as an industrial zone. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant a forestry, I'm going to place a forestry main building right here, because all the forestry buildings in a tropical map come with palm trees. And I think that I want to keep this area pretty rural. I don't want it to be this grand touristy beach. We could do that somewhere else in Xucaboa when it makes sense, but I want this to still be pretty rural, so I think some of the forestry stuff will look good. And as you see, I'm just placing down a ton of palm trees underneath each place that I put palm trees, so that they actually have resources, the raw materials to create resources. I'm going to name the forestry main building for Scratch Gamer. We'll call it the Scratch Gamer Beach Palms, for lack of a better name. I couldn't think of anything better. Scratch Gamer, also another YouTuber just like Christopher and I will show a link card right here, and the link is in the description. So be sure to check out Scratch Gamer, also building City Skyline content. We all got to support each other. Small YouTubers, I mean, some people are doing this because they want to monetize it and make a little bit of money. Some people are like me. That's not really my goal. I just want to have fun. And my girlfriend, I live with her. She doesn't like to hear about the game or talk about the game or anything like that. So I need somebody to talk to about this. Between City Skyline Vanilla Facebook group and my subscribers, y'all are my support group here, helping me out with my addiction to this game. Right now, I'm putting in some tourist walking paths around some of the parks, some of the bigger park areas in the city. Just because I think it'll help bring tourists into the city. I'm not totally sure how well they work. We still don't have our train station connected, so tourists have to either bus in or drive in. But I'm starting to think about the future, you know, with tourists and when the train line is connected and where it'll be. So we're also going to put in a taxi depot over in this corner. I'm going to clear out some of the things I planted last time. We'll put that right here. It makes a bit of noise, so we want it away from the residents. But I think alongside the rail corridor is a good spot. And we'll call this the Paulo Taxi Depot. I think the Paulo G Taxi Depot. We'll do that, just in case there's ever another Paulo. Won't get too confusing. So yeah, right there, we'll leave it. I'm not going to do too much else with that at the moment. It looks like we got a fire here, but it's been put out pretty quickly. Got the helo on standby. I guess it's good if the fire happens directly across from the fire station, the Richard C. fire station there. But now, just in this Xuqinha Beach area, I'm zoning a little bit of residential. I did it really quickly, but maybe you didn't see. What I did was, with the Xuqinha Beach district, I made specializations so that all the residential is self-sufficient, all the industry is forestry, and all the commercial is the eco one. So here we just put one little piece of commercial, and you see I like that because it's got the dirt underneath instead of concrete for the floor, I guess, or the base of it, and I think that'll look really good in this rural jungle neighborhood. But we're not going to have too much commercial, mostly very sparse stuff here. It's going to be very dense. Here we're putting in a dog park. We're going to call this the Hein N.S dog park, so that people can bring their dogs to walk in safety. You never know what kind of animals are looking around the jungle. It could be snakes, could be toxic plants, or animals that the dogs will interact with. So we'll have a nice safe area for dogs to play. I think that's an important thing, you know? Traffic seems to be all right. We didn't put in any processor buildings with the industry. I just want the palm plantations for the trees. So that isn't creating too much traffic, just exporting all the wood that it creates. And I deleted the incinerator. We didn't really need it. I think that was an overreaction to something that happened. Ay caramba, deleting that has caused a power supply situation to our wastewater, so I have to drag a power line across. But we still got plenty of trash processing capability, so I'm emptying the landfill into the recycle centers. We didn't really need that incinerator. It costs like $1,400 per week, I think, which is we can afford it, but why would we pay that when we don't need it? So we just got rid of that. I'm thinking maybe one more tree plantation. You see I'm just kind of putting all these trees in the spot so that I get the maximum materials coming out. It should be 4,800 units per week, and that's good. You want to place tree plantations on top of trees, if you didn't know, because otherwise they don't produce as much material in general. To be honest, I'm really not too focused on production of this place. It's not going to be anything more than what you see right now. But I still, you might as well get the money if you can. But I was placing the trees individually underneath because I, as you can tell by now, am very heavy into tree detailing. So I don't want to have any more trees than I need. anywhere else because there's a count, there's my FPS I gotta think about, there's my RAM, I'm using a computer here, so all that stuff I gotta keep in mind when I'm going crazy with detailing all these trees. Eventually, my computer's pretty good, but it's not the best computer in the world. It is a gaming computer, so I'm excited to really test out its capabilities by planting so many trees. It's kind of one of the reasons I'm going a little crazier than I think I normally would. But it still has limitations, so we don't want to push it. All right, you know, oh, I remember. Now I wanted to name the park on Compass Hill. We'll just name it Compass Hill, and we'll get rid of the district because there's no need to have a district on Compass Hill. There's no benefits to having that, and so just to reduce some of the icons that are on the screen, we'll rename the park Compass Hill, and we'll get rid of the district totally. We'll kind of clean up the edges of the neighboring ones a little bit, and there we go. Now Compass Hill is just a park, which is a zoo park for now. And we're pretty close to leveling up to the next level. There is something I want in the next level, and you will see in a minute. But I have to level up. So while we're waiting, I'm going to name the walking tours. Just real quick. Nothing too crazy. Canal Heights Walk. There we go. We leveled up. Perfect. Canal Heights Walking Club. Here we'll do the Big Forest National Park hike. Seems appropriate. And here we'll call it the Xuqinha Center Plaza's Stretch Club. You know, because they're really just walking around the plaza. The two plazas. And now we'll just time-lapse it real quick. Speed things up till we get to our nice sunrise. Love these moments, very picturesque. And yeah, we'll let the game run, let the sun rise, and get to work. With this jungle area, right now there's still not a lot of trees going on, it's just the plantations, but this is a tropical map. I feel like we're pretty close to the equator. I don't remember the exact latitude from Skylines country, but just looking at how the sun tracks across the sky, I think we're pretty close, you know? So I imagine it's going to be very, very dense tropical rainforest in these jungle areas. So we're going to put a lot there. All right, it's time. What I'm going to do, I'm going to extend the Big Forest National Park down into West Canal, the former West Canal, and we're going to put the Bison Enclosure. Because if you remember, in this area, there are wild bison roaming around. And I feel like this is the perfect asset to go right here. You got the overlook looking into it. This will be like a Bison Preserve, all right? These are majestic beasts that are roaming our forests, but they need to be cared for by specialists and raised in safety because there's all kinds of urban development and climate issues and poaching, and there's even cougars roaming around the park. I know we haven't seen any in the video yet, but playing this game, I have seen cougars here. We're going to name this the Alexander M. Bison Preserve. And this is where bison will live in safety. I believe there are about 10 bison in here, and we're going to name them all nicknames I have for Xuca. We have Xuca, Shubinska, Poopinette, Poo-Poo, Bean, Shooby-Doo. What's next? Shukaka from Ace Ventura 2 there. Zumba. We got Shupin, Xuqinha. Here we'll do Shuka. And here we'll do Meowsley. And I think that's all of them. Here is a picture of her, by the way, by the window, looking out at some of the nice vegetation outside of our own home. All right, we live in a very urban area, but there's lots of trees outside. Trees and fields and nature. So I don't feel totally wrong to place so many trees all the time, you know. But if you look, really all I'm doing is extending and making more realistic this forest here, the big forest that was already existing. It was already here on this side of the map. We're doing the jungle that was by the beach. Really the only thing where I added forest where there wasn't was on Compass Hill. And I feel like that's because it was a curated park. All right, we've reached level 3 of the Big Forest National Park, and that's great because I want to use some of the assets on the beach. Alright, there is this campground, this second campground that has like these little bungalows, these little cabins with a fire pit circle. So I'm going to place 3 of them on our beach. And when the sun comes up, you'll see them a little bit better, but I think they look freaking perfect right along here. Look at this. Imagine hanging out at the beach in one of those things. That could be touristy. That could be a nice, you know, maybe it's some kind of rental thing or a Airbnb or something like that. But yeah, I think it's just cool. I would definitely want to hang out at a place like that. We'll continue to zone just a little bit of residential over here, fill in some of the spaces, and add a plop of commercial. See, now look at these. They look pretty good. Now, I pretty much got all the buildings I want in this neighborhood, so we're going to start adding paths in between, some of the nature reserve paths, because they have a very outdoorsy look, a little bit better than the gravel paths for this function. And now, before I forget, let's name the campsites. We're going to name this one for Ian. We're going to call it the Ian P. I want to have everyone's full name out. Ian P. Beach Camp. We're going to call this the Abhinav S. Beach Camp. And this one we'll get back to. Because I wasn't sure when I was recording if I was going to place anything else that I want to name for people. I really can't stress enough to everybody how much I just improvise this as I'm doing. Alright, I record maybe, I don't record, I play maybe for like an hour before I record, so I have some ideas about how it's going to work so I don't look like an idiot when I do record, but it's kind of different every time. It never comes out exactly the same. I'm just getting ideas. And now we're going to do the time lapse very fast, just populating this jungle with vegetation and trees. And what I'm doing, I'm using those big dark green trees. I'm using bamboo, which is kind of new for this area. But I think it goes in well. It's got a very bright green color, those bamboo clusters, and I'm putting in palm trees all over the place. I'm going to add some of those little dark palm trees in between now. Kind of fill in the blanks. And when I'm done with that, I'm going to add the big palm bush looking thing. Occasionally, what I do is I add a piece of vegetation on the edge of something, like by a road, kind of in a corner where it still looks bare, over there by the beach, but really not too much of the vegetation stuff, just in some spots. And this is what it looks like. I think I'm pretty done with it at this point. Yeah. See, we got streets, we got paths, but it's still a pretty dense jungle on this beach. And it's got a lot of diversity in the fauna, which is what you usually expect to see in a jungle. All right, a jungle's not just made out of one tree or 2 trees. It's made out of tons of different species of plants and animals. So we'll try to replicate that as best we can. Same over here in that broadleaf forest, rainforest, I believe it's called. I was looking up on Wikipedia different types of tropical forests to get ideas. Just so you know, I'm not totally clueless when it comes to what I'm doing here. I did a little bit of research. Also lived in places that have dense jungle. I've visited plenty of them, so I've seen some stuff. I have some ideas in my head. Now let's finish naming. We'll name this the Cody K Beach Camp. And I think we have one name left to do after that. We'll put it here. We'll call this the Joshua LG Beach Camp. This is the tents, it's not the cabins, but I'm going to delete this one. I put 2 of them down. I'm going to delete that one inside because I feel like it's kind of a residential area. I feel like the camping should really just be on the beach. But I also want there to be beach. So I chose to go with 3 cabanas and 1 tent area. And maybe that'll be a good idea. We'll see. Just putting a little bit more commercial in that spot. We'll keep that. Gonna fill in the rest. Use some paths and some vegetation here, a couple of bushes. A little bit less dense by that restaurant, I think it is. There we go. Look at that. That's looking good. And yeah, I think the self-sufficient look blends in really well. The organic commercial looks very good in here as long as it has the dirt underside. And now I'm doing, you may have noticed this in the time-lapse detail last time too, but I think a good way to detail is not just with props and items, but also with terrain height. You know, it can be a little bit tricky, and here you see I'm doing it after I've placed everything down. But with this jungle, instead of having it all at one layer, I'm trying to give it like a bumpy look, make it a little bit hilly. The streets aren't affected by this, the paths aren't affected by this, just the forest in between. And since the palm plantations are terrain conforming, they'll go up and down like everything else. So I think that gives it just a little bit more of a textured look, and the more I do this, the more I think that texture is key to making it look very real. So thank you for watching Xucaboa 100% Vanilla Baby, episode number 16. It's been a pleasure. Pay attention for the photo contest. Check it out on the Facebook group, and I will see you next time.